Hello and welcome to the Federal Podcast. I am Aprameya. ICC Men's T20 World Cup 2024 has begun in the United States of America and the Caribbean islands. India will open their campaign on June 5th against Ireland. Joining us today from New York is senior cricket writer R Kaushik. Thanks, Kaushik, for speaking to the Federal.
Nice to be back.
Kaushik, first up, you are there in New York. How's the buzz about the T20 World Cup in the US?
Yeah, there's not a lot of buzz. It's something that Rahul Dravid also alluded to in his press conference today. You will come to a country which is hosting, we are used to going to countries which have hosted cricket World Cups, and you can see right from the time you set foot in the airport that there is this huge hype about the tournament, people talking about it. But there is a distinct sort of lack of hype, which is understandable because cricket is not even the second or the third most popular sport in this country. So that the hope is that once India plays, because obviously we know that India's got the biggest fan following for the sport anywhere in the world, that once India plays, there will be some buzz, but the tournament itself has not really caught fire. I know there was a super over finish, but it was a match involving Oman and Namibia, so nobody's reading too much into it. The scores have not been great. Yes, there was a popular home victory on the first day when the US beat Canada. Interestingly, they played the first international cricket match back in 1844. But yes, as a whole, there is not a lot of buzz in New York at the moment. And Nassau County is not really New York. Yes, technically it is part of New York, but it is a little removed from the hustle and bustle of the city. So, yeah, we are hoping that things will change over the next 3-4 days.
Kaushik, I want to draw your attention to today's game. What happened? Low scoring. Sri Lanka bowled out for 77 and South Africa took almost 17 overs to chase down. It was an interesting game. Do you think, since India is also playing at the same venue, Nassau, you mentioned Nassau County Cricket Ground. So what can we expect on this drop-in pitches for the tournament?
Yeah, drop-in pitches are not novelty in cricket actually. If you look at it, if you go back to Australia, let's say the Melbourne Cricket Ground, the Sydney Cricket Ground, they also have Aussie rules football when cricket is not being played. So even they use drop-in pitches sometimes. So it is not really a new thing to cricket. The difference this time perhaps is that the pitches were made in Adelaide and they were shipped to the United States. Obviously, it will take some time for the pitch to settle in. It's not been India played a practice game at the Nassau County International Cricket Stadium a couple of days back against Bangladesh, and it was not a great surface. I think it's credit to India's batting that against a reasonably strong Bangladeshi side, they made more than 180 runs. Today was I didn't really see much of the match because I came here to watch India's practice at another public park here in Nassau County. But from the looks of it, it's as if batting has been a very difficult proposition right throughout the tournament, apart from the first game in Dallas, where our USA chased down a fairly sizable target. Otherwise, even the West Indies struggled to beat Papua New Guinea over in Providence and Guyana. It's not been a tall-scoring tournament so far. And the general consensus is that it's probably going to remain that way as the tournament progresses. Batting will probably get a little more difficult once the pitches become a little more tired. We get into the Super 8s. So I don't think 200 will be the norm. We'll probably have to recalibrate your thought process when it comes to batting first and stacking up scores, which will ask for adaptability from batting units of all the teams.
And India head coach Rahul Dravid addressed the media. What are the takeaways from his press conference today? And he did mention that this will be his last tournament as India's head coach.
Yeah, that's probably the worst kept secret in the world. The fact that we already are looking at the next head coach, and Rahul's term, if you remember, ended at the end of the T20 World Cup back in November in India. And he was convinced to stay on for another 6, 7, 8 months so that we could get the T20 World Cup out of the way, so that there will be some continuity in thought process, continuity in selection, continuity in the style of play that India have embraced in the last sort of one year or so. So it was no surprise that Rahul made it official that this was his last assignment as the head coach of the Indian team. It's been a mixed bag. I mean, we reached the semi-finals of the T20 World Cup, and Dravid's first assignment as the coach made the final of the World Test Championship last year, made the final of the World Cup. So it's not been an outstandingly overwhelming success where India has won a lot of titles, but they did win the Asia Cup. which was the first title in 5 years. From today's press conference, you know how Rahul is. He doesn't like to give anything away. He was even very cagey when it came to the opening combination. He said, we have three players, and in Rohit, we have Jaiswal and Virat Kohli, and we will pick two of them. He said in their heads, 10 guys are already penciled in, and it's a matter of turning up at the venue day after tomorrow on the morning of the match and figuring out who the 11th option will be. So they are very clear in what they want to do, in the kind of cricket that they want to exhibit. But they're also mindful of the fact that just because they have decided to be aggressive, that's not the only way of the conditions. They will have to find other ways of scoring runs, not just by going gun more at the beginning. So yeah, essentially, Dravid did not say a lot of things. So he did mention that he's a little strange to the tournament where there is not much buzz so far. But he's also hopeful, like the organizers and like all of us invested in cricket, that as the tournament moves into the second week or so, we will have greater interest in the competition.
And whenever there is an ICC event and India taking part, we cast our mind back to the title drought. It's almost now 11 years and counting. And again, I have to ask the same question. What are your thoughts this time? Will it end, or what are the chances?
Chances are as good as any tournament that India have played in the last many years. If you look at India, has hardly gone into a tournament with a weak team. They haven't had bad campaigns at all, apart from maybe the T20 World Cup in the UAE, where they lost to Pakistan and New Zealand in the first two games, and then they were out of the tournament right then. Otherwise, they've always been a strong side in global tournaments. And even now, coming into this tournament, they're ranked number one in the T20 format. They're ranked number one in the 50-over format, and they're number two in the Test format. So that speaks to the consistency of this side over a number of years. It speaks to the depth of talent, because so many times, including in the recent home Test series against England, you saw that several of the main players were not available, and still they were strong enough to bounce back from 0-1 down and win the series 4-1. So talent-wise, absolutely no doubt that they have what it takes to go all the way. But like Rahul pointed out, the first thing is to be in a position where you can try to go all the way, which means getting through the league phase, which means getting through the Super 8s into the semi-finals, and then it's a matter of what happens on that day. Yes, it's happened for too often that India have not been able to be at their best on the day that matters, but that doesn't make them a bad team. It's just that they need to dig deep and find that final push, when it comes to the knockouts, win the semi-final, win the final. I don't think it's the mental baggage kind of thing. But yes, are they capable of winning this tournament? For sure. Do they have the team to do it? For sure. Will they do it? Well, we'll have to wait for a couple of more weeks and figure out how the tournament unfolds.
And one last question, Kaushik. Will this be Virat Kohli and Rohit Sharma together at a T20 World Cup, or maybe any World Cup for that matter? Or do we see them again together at a major ICC event? Because the next year we have Champions Trophy as well. But in the T20 format, will this be the last together?
They say never, don't dare to. Who knows? I would be really surprised if both of them play the next T20 World Cup. One of them might. Both of them, I'll be really, really surprised. I also, T20 is increasingly becoming, it makes so many demands on you, on your body, on your mind, when you have a young family, and both of them are fathers. And the time that it takes away, whether it is worth it in their understanding, given where they are at this stage of their career, I am not so sure that they will continue to play T20 international cricket for a long time after this tournament. Obviously, the perfect way to go out of T20s will be to have a title under the belt. Rohit obviously has one, because he was part of the team that won the 2007 World Cup. Virat Kohli was not yet an international player at the time. Virat Kohli has a 50-over World Cup title, which Rohit doesn't have. So, yeah, who knows? Maybe the stars will align in such a way that they both walk away with a winner's medal this time, and they both call it a day when it comes to international T20 cricket. I'm sure they'll continue to play franchise cricket, but will they play another T20 World Cup together? I'm most unlikely is what I would say.
Thanks, Kaushik, for your thoughts.